Hello and welcome back to literally my life, my guide to girlhood. I I'm already loving this episode already and I haven't even started it yet because I'm like sitting in my room. It's raining outside and I'm not even a big fan of the rain, but it can be kind of comforting. I feel like I sound a little nasally and I've been sounding like that since I've gotten back from LA. So I feel like this is already going to be a goodie. But before we get into today's episode, I want to obviously thank you guys for all of the love and the support I've been receiving on this podcast. It's, I do this as a therapy for me. I just rant and I rant and I rant and to have so many people listen and give their thoughts and their feedback on it, it just really makes my world. I love that. So again, always, I say this at the end of every episode, but if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, constructive criticism, always feel free to text and DM me. I'm pretty sure everyone that listens has my social media, but if you don't, I will find a way to link it. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So today's episode is about unrequited love. It was kind of not requested, but I kind of thought this one through. I had a conversation with one of my old girlfriends from camp, and when I say girlfriends as in friends. Like, I'm not queer, but no disrespect. But I had a conversation with one of my old girlfriends from summer camp, and we just had a conversation about, relationships and situationships, which also can be another episode. Like, situationships are crazy within themselves, and we could talk about that in another episode. But we also had a conversation about unrequited love. And, she told me she really loved the podcast. She listens to it every week. And they come at like perfect timing for her. So I told her I would do an episode on unrequited love. So this one is for you, Katya. If you guys have any suggestions or recommendations for next week's episode, always feel free to text me about it. I love when I get suggestions for episodes because I don't know, sometimes I'm just like finding things like pulling them from like an axe, like pulling them from like the middle of my books because I remember I told you guys I had like this episode recorded about balance that never made the air because like so much stuff came out. I had to do it on friendship breakups. But just like I feel like that episode would have been trash anyway. But if you guys want to hear it, let me know. Okay, so let's really get into this episode. This has been like the longest intro ever. Okay, so let's talk about unrequited love. Let's just talk about that in general. So, like I said, I feel like this is kind of like a series of like the happiness. Are you happy or distracted? Like that was the first episode. The second episode was healing, and I feel like this is the third episode. Like this is a series at this point. But like I said in the episode about happiness, this is also a term that has different definitions. It's very broad. You know what I mean? It has different definitions for different people. I'm going to give you mine. So to me, unrequited love to me is when just simply when you love someone and they don't love you back. When you have deep, passionate, intimate feelings for someone and they either don't know or they know and they just don't feel the same way. Now, dealing with unrequited love is painful. And I've been in that situation before. But I also I want to paint a difference. Okay. So, in the situation I've been in with unrequited love is fortunately in most of I've rarely ever had like crushes where they didn't like me back. Like all of my feelings and love and hurt have come from actual relationships. They haven't come from like a crush. Like you know what I mean? Like I feel like rejection is a little different than unrequited love, although it is the same. But my situations, and from the point of view that I'm going to be speaking from, is like someone falling out of love with you. Like you still love someone, but they just don't love you anymore, which is probably one of the hardest things and one of the worst things to ever happen. And I can say that because it has happened to me. It's happened to me a couple of times, okay? And I say that with vulnerability, okay? And it's happened to, at least, it's happened to a lot of people, I bet you, who are listening to this. I bet you have liked someone and gotten into a relationship with this person and become really confident and stable in this relationship. And then you just notice sudden changes. They're not as excited when they talk to you. They're not answering your calls as much or texting you back as fast as they used to. They're not doing things to impress you anymore. Your happiness is not really a priority to them anymore. And then you realize that they don't love you anymore and that they're kind of tolerating you. And, that is the worst realization. That is the worst realization, and I've had to realize it a couple of times. But I'm going to talk about now. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with unrequited love. Okay, so about 2 years ago. No, it's 2024, so it's 3 years ago now. Oh my gosh! Sorry, it's been so long. I met a guy. And I liked this guy. And I'm actually not talking about my first love, so isn't that a first? This is hilarious. But I met this guy, and we're gonna call him 6'5" because he was 6'5", and he's a chill guy. I hope this does not get back to him, but if it does, I have no issue with you. I think you're a cool guy. I'm just sharing my story, like the little story for experience. But you're a chill guy. I have no issue with you anymore. But I had an issue with you at the time, and what happened was I met this guy and we started talking and things were great for a little while. And I'm not saying that I was an angel in this relationship because I think I was just like wasn't mentally stable enough to kind of be in this relationship. But I started to notice after like 2 months that he was starting to not like me anymore. And that really sucked because I really liked this guy. I had grown to really like this guy, to kind of get to know him, to know his habits and his likes and his dislikes and what he does do and what he doesn't do. And I really started to like his character. I really liked his personality and the way he carried himself and, so many different things about this guy. And I really started to fall for this guy. And I'm not going to say like I was in love with him because I feel like I use the word love loosely. But I did really like this guy. And he just wasn't into me anymore. He totally disregarded me and kind of pushed me to the side. What hurt the most though is that he didn't tell me this. Like he never told me, "Oh, I don't have feelings for you anymore. I just don't think we should talk anymore." He never told me that. So we were talking every day, and he just didn't have feelings for me. And this guy, it's like it's so funny. It's like something I can laugh about now because like I'm over it, but oh my goodness. It hurt at the time because I started to realize, and it took me a while to realize it. Like one of the songs that actually helped me realize it was Tolerate It by Taylor Swift. It was like the most perfect song for that situation. But I just realized, I was like, oh my God, he does not like me. He does not want to be with me anymore. Like he's just talking to me because I feel like he feels like he has to. Like he does not want to be with me anymore. And that realization hurt. It really did hurt. And it took me, I'm going to be honest, it took me a while to come to that realization. And the only thing I really, really hate about that is I just kind of wish he had told me sooner. So I wouldn't have spent so much time still really liking him and getting attached to him. And he just didn't care about me. Now, what I did like about this little moment that we had is that there was no physical aspect to it, if you know what I mean. And that would have been my first because I was really seriously considering it with this person. And there was no physical aspect to that. And I'm glad that it wasn't because that would have made things 10 times worse. Because, like I said, I really liked this guy. I'd really grown to like him and his personality and his character, and really grown to not only like him, but respect him as a person. And he didn't like me. And I think things would have been 10 times worse had I been sleeping with him. Because I'm one of those people that takes sex very seriously. And I could do a whole other episode on sex. So, those are two considerations we could do now. We can do an episode on situationships, or we can do an episode on sex. So I'll leave a poll for you guys. But that was, yeah. So I take sex very seriously. I think sex is, I just don't really believe in hookup culture. Have I like, kissed random people before? Like I've participated in it, yeah. But I don't really believe in hookup culture. I think sex is more of an intimate thing, and I think it should be shared between two people who really love and deeply care for one another. And I think it would be so heartbreaking for me to have sex with someone who solely only wanted to have sex with me and did not see me past a sexual being. And I think that's why I'm so picky about who I have sex with. You know? But I'm not saying this guy used me for sex either, because that wasn't the case. He was not using me for sex because we weren't having it. So he would have sucked at using me for sex because we weren't having it. But I do have a lot of conversations with my friends about this, same thing where they like a guy and they can't really tell if this guy still has feelings for them anymore, but they're in a serious committed relationship. Me and this guy really only talked or whatever that was for 2, 3, 4 months. But I've had friends who've been in committed relationships for 6 to 12. You know what I mean? Like a very long time, 6 to 12 months, a year and a half. And they're at this point very committed with their partner. Not only are they having sex with them, but they've met their family. You know what I mean? Like they met their family. They're friends with their family. Their little sister looks up to them. I've had friends who, are good friends with their boyfriend's mom, but their boyfriend just doesn't love them anymore. They're going to family reunions with this guy. They're going on dates with this guy once a week. Your family likes this guy. You think you're going to marry this guy, because that's like a big misconception. That's something that I think is so stupid that teenagers do. Like you start thinking, oh, I'm gonna marry this person, because that is so incredibly rare. And I think high school sweethearts has been kind of ruined by hookup culture. And another episode, the whole sex hookup culture thing, we could totally talk about that. But that would probably be a longer episode. That would probably be like 45 minutes. So if you guys want that, let me know. Always. But yeah, so I've had friends who've gotten really, really invested in these relationships and have been really committed more than invested. And the guy has really fallen out of love with them. And that has really, I've had to pick up so many friends from that, just friends crying. I've had so many friends crying. I've had, calls in the middle of the night from my girlfriends crying because, the boyfriend that they loved, they realized just doesn't love them anymore. And that is the case of unrequited love. And it absolutely sucks. So, now I'm going to talk a little bit about how I dealt with unrequited love. So, I'm going to be completely 100% honest here. I didn't deal with it very well. I didn't deal with it well at all. Like, oh my goodness, I was terrible at it. Because like I said before, it took me a while to realize that was the situation, that the love was unrequited, that him and I were just not going to be together because he didn't want to be with me anymore. And that's his right. He did nothing wrong when it came to falling out of love with me, because sometimes that thing just happens. Sometimes you meet somebody new who's just a better fit for you, and that happens. And it took me a while to get to that mindset and not be mad at him, because it is a natural thing. But it took me about 3 years to become that mature, and I wish I owe him the biggest apology. I wish I could have been more mature about that thing. Not the point though. So the first thing is to end things. If this person hasn't already ended things with you, you need to end things with them. Because the love is unrequited, and when somebody falls out of love with you, there is absolutely nothing you can do to get them to fall back in love with you. I'm sorry to say it. You cannot get prettier, you cannot lose weight, you cannot become funnier or more charming. There's absolutely nothing you can do. When someone falls out of love with you, it's over with. There's nothing you can do. And you have to accept that, and the first way to accept that is to end things with this person. Because there is no way a healthy relationship is going to come out of this. This is not a funk. This is not something you guys are going to get over. This is the end of your relationship. And you have to end things. And it is going to seem really hard to do that, because it was really hard for me, but I just knew it was the right decision, because I swear to God, had I not blocked him and, moved on from that, I swear to God, we would still be going through the same thing, and it would have prevented both of us from moving on. Like, he has found a girlfriend who I think is a really good match for him, and I've continued to date, and I've met people who I think are a much, much better match for me personality wise than him. And I feel like, had we not ended things, you know, it would have just held us both back from finding true happiness with other people. Okay, now that you have ended things, it sounds a little cliche. Everybody says it, but you need to work on yourself. You need to put the time and the dedication into yourself. So I took that time as a period of reflection and was like, you know what? I'm going to heal Alex. I'm going to invest in Alex. I'm going to do things Alex wants to do. I'm going to try things Alex wants to do. And my goal at the end of this is to improve Alex's social and emotional well-being. It's not to get back in a relationship. It's not to get someone to fall in love with me again. It's purely for me. It's rebuilding yourself. Because even if you don't want to admit it, you have lost a part of yourself in this situationship, in this relationship, in this friendship even. You've lost yourself in this because you have experienced unrequited love. And I was literally talking to my mom about this last night. I was like talking to my mom and I was telling her about my experiences with unrequited love and how incredibly heartbreaking and painful it is. And you can't just suffer that heartache and think you're going to be completely fine once you guys cut off contact. You're like, you know what, now he's blocked, or now he blocked me and we've cut off contact and everything's good now because we're not talking anymore. No, you have to heal from that. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's something to heal from, and that was hard for me. So personally, I took a ballet class. I love ballet. I've always loved ballet since I was a kid. I was like, you know what, I'm going to take some time, invest in Alex. I took a ballet class. I got really, really into poetry. I wrote so many poems about this guy. I wrote him a letter that I'll never send, that I'll never, ever read. But writing is my release. Like, remember we were talking about releases, like painting, drawing, singing, jumping, running. Writing is mine. Confessional poetry is everything to me. So I wrote all these really nasty poems. They're like my version of breakup songs. And what else did I do? I started working out. I got really into skincare. I'm doing my face mask once a week. I'm getting up every morning and working out. I'm praying. I am going on a healing journey. I'm in therapy. I'm being honest with myself. And like I said in the last episode, healing is not linear because I feel like I heal and then I self-destruct and hurt and heal again and self-destruct and hurt and then heal and then hurt and self-destruct. It's just a repeating cycle, and I'm learning how to break that. And if I have some success, I'll definitely tell you guys. But anyways, the third thing, so after you've cut off contact, after you're really investing in yourself, you're really working on yourself, after you feel ready to start maybe dating again or putting yourself back out there, you need to set healthy boundaries. And mine is when I realize that somebody may not have the interest in me that I have in them, I walk away. When I see that my interest or my connection or my time is being unrequited with a person, I walk away. I'm not doing the begging game because the begging game is embarrassing. One thing about a guy, he will embarrass you. Oh my gosh, I've met so many people who've been absolutely embarrassed by their boyfriends. Rightfully so, because they are embarrassing. But the begging game is embarrassing. I don't want to go through it anymore. And I have too much pride. I have too much of an ego to continue to do it. So I'm not going to. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And I've set a healthy boundary. And that boundary has carried me in through so many situations. I had this little crush on this guy. And I started to notice that he was treating me like crap and kind of just I don't know if my interest was unrequited, but I felt very taken advantage of because of my interest, because my intentions were pure and his weren't. And as soon as I saw that, I was able to walk away from him. And it was easier, and I'll acknowledge that it was easier because I didn't have quite the emotional attachment to this guy. I wasn't really into him. I'd only known him like a month. I never really got to, like I said earlier, I was the guy I had the unrequited love with. I really grew to like him and his characteristics and his personality, and I really grew to respect him. And I didn't have that time, or that, I would say, intimate time with that guy to really grow to like him and his character. So it did make things significantly easier when it came time to drop him. But even now, if I like someone, and if I really start to like someone, and I'm like, oh, this is the guy, like, this is the one, and I notice my feelings are unrequited, I walk away, because we're too good to be playing the begging game. I said it before in another podcast. One thing that attracted me to my first love was that I didn't have to play the guessing game. Does he like me? Does he like me not? We're too old for that, babe. And I know I'm sitting here like not even 17 yet, but we're too old for that, girl. I mean, we are. I mean, at this age and in this point in my life, maybe I'm like different than other people. I want something that's stable. I'm not playing the guessing game with you. It's either you like me or you don't. And if you like me, that's great. Let's build something. We can be together. We can have a healthy relationship. And that's a different story. And that'll be great. We can definitely do that. And if you don't like me, then don't waste my time. We're over that. So if you don't take I always have these like moments in the podcast where it's like, if you take one thing away, let it be this. But let me do it again. If you don't take anything away from this podcast but this, then I will sleep peacefully tonight. We are not playing the begging game anymore. We're not doing it. If somebody is not treating you the way you deserve to be treated, you are walking away. We're not doing this anymore. We are not doing this anymore. It is exhausting. Exhausting. So with that, I would like to say that I'm very happy that I was suggested this topic. Unrequited love is something I've dealt with, and I know a lot of women have dealt with, and a lot of men have dealt with, and it is a hard thing to deal with. And I feel like I didn't acknowledge that enough in this episode, so I'll do it here. It is a very, very hard thing to deal with. And it is so okay to cry. It is so okay to be sad. It's so okay to kind of get in the bed and put the covers over your head. You know what I mean? It is so okay to do that. And don't feel guilty about that. Don't feel guilty about missing this person or having a bond with this person. You really can't control how you feel sometimes. And that's okay. You had a bond with this person, you had a crush on this person, or you really fell in love with this person, and their feelings are either unrequited or they did have the same feelings for you and they lost those feelings. And I've been in both of those situations, and both of them suck. But I think if you take my advice about cutting contact, about really investing in yourself, about really getting yourself together, and about setting healthy boundaries once you're ready to kind of put yourself back in that dating pool, I think you will be able to deal with the situation of unrequited love a lot better, and it will be a lot easier for you. Again, we are not playing the guessing, begging game anymore. We are not doing it. We're just not doing it. It's over with. Okay? If you guys need any sort of advice, always feel free to text me. I'm pretty sure everybody on here has my social media. My Snapchat is literally Alex Elamine, AlexElamin. And then my Instagram is Elamine Alexandra 13, ELAMINALEXANDRA 13. Always feel free to DM me. A lot of people text me about these podcasts. That's how I get half of these episode suggestions. And I'm your big sister. I'm here for you guys. And I love this podcast. I'm going out of this feeling very confident, feeling very happy, even though I feel like this is going to come out a little late. But that's okay, because you guys still listen. You guys are the best listeners in the entire world. And to everyone who has dealt with unrequited love, just know that you are loved and you are valued and you are appreciated, and you are going to meet some very genuine people in your life, whether it's platonic or romantically, that really do love and appreciate and value you, the person you are, your time, and really grows to respect you. So with that, I want to thank you guys for listening to yet another long episode of literally my life, my guide to girlhood. If you guys would like me to do longer episodes, like 30 to 45 minute episodes, please tell me, because I'm able to do that. I would have to write more stuff down to talk about, but I'm able to do that. I really like recording these episodes. I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions and all kinds of things. So please always give me your feedback. And what I said earlier about a poll, we're going to scratch the poll because I know what next week's topic is going to be about. Next week's topic is going to be about a topic that is very triggering and a little dear to me, and it's about suicide. So I'm just giving you guys that heads up now. I've started recording. It's going to be quite a heavy episode, but please let me know if you guys would like 30 to 45 minute episodes, because I really do think the suicide podcast might make that mark, might be that long. But without further ado, thank you guys for listening. I hope I made the situation of Unrequited Love a little easier for you, and I've given you some kind of closure, some kind of healing. Another thing, last thing, I'm sorry. The disrespect was all the closure you need. You're not going to get any closure because, like I said, when somebody falls out of love with you, there's nothing you can do to change their mind. Absolutely nothing. So the disrespect, the lost feelings, the unrequited love, that's all the closure you need. Move on, babe. And I hope these tips help you guys move on. Okay, seriously, longest outro ever. I love you guys. I will see you guys next week. A website is coming soon. And thank you again for listening to Literally My Life, my guide to girlhood. See you guys.